Every single person watching this video right now will have something in their lives that they can't imagine how they ever lived without. Maybe it's your morning cup of coffee. Maybe it's your noise cancelling headphones. For me, it's time blocking. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Taylor and I have a lot of different buckets in my life. Time blocking is what has allowed me to write my newsletter, create YouTube videos, study efficiently for uni, exercise each day, build a side hustle, working a job, and still have open chunks for new opportunities, all without feeling overwhelmed and burnt out. My aim in this video is to take you from a complete time blocking beginner to knowing and understanding how to successfully time block your days and weeks with the help of Akiflow, who is kindly sponsoring this video. Time blocking is purposely planning out specific periods of time in your days or weeks to work on tasks or priorities, and this acts to eliminate distractions and multitasking. Instead of just reactively going from one thing to the next, you proactively schedule out your day in blocks dedicated to certain tasks or activities. It's the complete opposite of the conventional to-do list mentality of just mindlessly checking off tasks. With time blocking, you decide in advance what you will work on and when, so that you can be 100% focused on that activity during its scheduled blocks. Some of the most successful people in the world are avid time blockers. Bill Gates reportedly time blocks his entire calendar down to the minute. Elon Musk is religiously scheduled to avoid context switching, and Barack Obama always scheduled his most important decisions for after 11 a.m. to leverage his peak focus. For people who struggle with procrastination or staying focused, which, let's be honest, is most of us, time blocking is genuinely life-changing. So why does scheduling your time like this actually work so well? The first thing is that it eliminates distraction and allows you to stay focused on your work. One of the most common productivity killers is the constant context switching between different tasks and apps. This massively impacts your focus and momentum. Time blocking addresses this by dedicating specific blocks solely to certain tasks, which allows you to go 100% distraction-free and get into a flow state. You will be amazed with how much more work you can do in 2 hours of intense focus on a single task than you would if you were context switching between all of these different tasks. The second reason this works so well is because time blocking ensures that your priorities actually get done. Now, we all have goals, priorities, and important tasks that we keep putting on the back burner because all of these urgent things like emails, meetings, and requests by others seem to take priority. With time blocking, you can make sure that you action your top priorities first by proactively scheduling chunks of time for those items. This is how we make sure that they actually get done rather than being constantly delayed. And if you think about it, these tasks that we schedule in are going to be some of the most important things that you can do to get closer to your goals. So it's really important that we do allocate dedicated time for them rather than just letting all of our urgent tasks take up all of our time. The third thing is that it provides a framework for your day so that you're more intentional instead of being scattered. If you are anything like the old me, then you have probably spent hours of your morning stumbling around doing things that don't really matter just because you haven't known where to start. You might have hit 5 p.m. feeling like you were so busy all day but having no idea what you actually got through that was meaningful. Time blocking eliminates both of these things by giving you a clear planned schedule to follow each day. You wake up knowing exactly when you'll work on what, allowing you to stay intentional and purposeful throughout the day. Now, I'm going to take you over to my computer and let's dive into my full time blocking process so that you can start leveraging this for yourself. So this is Akiflow. Akiflow is basically a dedicated time management platform. So you're able to take a whole bunch of different productivity apps, things like Notion, Gmail, Google Calendar, and combine them all into one so that you don't have to constantly switch between the different apps. I have completely cleared my Akiflow because I want to show you exactly how to set it up and get started, because I know that one of the biggest things that holds people back is getting things started. So if we can do this together now, then I'm hoping it'll make your life easy and then you'll be able to start officially time blocking. So This is what the AkiFlow app looks like. And the first thing that I'm going to do is actually show you one of my favorite tools, the command bar. And this is basically just a way to find whatever you need by doing a quick search. And the first thing that I'm going to do is change this to light mode, because something about me is I just hate having things in dark mode. I know it's really popular, but something about it I just don't like. So first I want to change this to be light mode. So if I search up light, then it actually gives me the suggestion straight away. So it makes it really easy to find everything. So I'm going to go switch to light mode. So much better. Obviously, this is our setup. Now, one of the best things about AkiFlow is they give you an exclusive one-to-one onboarding call. So you're never left looking at a page having no idea where to start. So I'm going to come to my profile up here and I'm going to add in some integrations. Now, if we come down here, you can see there are a whole bunch of different integrations. So you have the native ones, which you can just connect automatically. You can use Zapier and connect a lot of different integrations through there as well. You also have a bunch more apps that you can connect down here. What I'm going to do for now is I'm going to connect my calendars, my Gmail, and my Notion, because I use a lot of different calendars. I have a personal one, a work one, and a business one. And I also use Notion. So being able to have them all on the one app is very useful. Let me start off with my main Google Calendar. So I'm just going to connect here and I will come back when I'm done. All right, so you can see that I have my 3 calendars connected. The next thing that I'm going to do is connect my Notion. What I've done is connect my main Notion database, and I'm now going to, my main Notion page, which has multiple databases. So the next thing I have to do is choose a specific database that I want to integrate my tasks from. So for me, this is just labeled as Taylor's Tasks. I'm then going to import all pages because I'm the only person in my workspace. I can add filters for what I want to import. So I'm actually going to do it by status because I only want the tasks that are either in progress or to start. So I'm going to go status is not done. And this means that all of the tasks that are outstanding or that I'm currently working on will now come into my AkiFlow calendar and my inbox so that I can sort them from there. I can then choose that once a task is done in AkiFlow, then the status in Notion is also going to change to done. If I want to undo it in AkiFlow, then the status is going to change to not started. So this way, whenever I change anything in AkiFlow, it will change in Notion, and whenever I have tasks in Notion, they'll come onto AkiFlow, so it just syncs together. Scheduled date, I'm going to add my plan date so that if I set a date in Notion that I want to do a task, then it'll also come across into AkiFlow. And that is everything that I need to do there. So I'm going to save my changes. All right, so you can see that I've also added my email accounts in. And if I go into my business email here, then what I want to make sure is on is this toggle. This is going to add a label to my Gmail so that if any emails come in that I have to action, for example, maybe it's a client inquiry or a brand deal inquiry, then I can turn this on. I can label the email as AkiFlow and it's going to come into AkiFlow so I can action it in here. I'm also going to make sure that when I mark it as done in AkiFlow, the email unlabels, so that's all complete. So I think 6 integrations is good to start with. If you have other ones, then obviously add those in. The next thing that I want to do to finish setting this up is go to this calendar section over here. Because I use different categories under my personal calendars, I want to make sure that these are all visible in AkiFlow. So I'm just going to go through and enable all of these ones. And this is going to make sure that all of my events come through onto AkiFlow. You can also adjust all the system settings down here if you want to change the days, work hours, all of those things are accessible here. So now is the exciting part. Let's go back to the main screen and see what it looks like. So we can now see some of the recurring tasks that I have put in my calendar. And from here, we can start looking at scheduling out and time blocking our week. Now, if it looks a bit different, I'm actually back on the desktop version of AkiFlow. So you can use the desktop or the app. I had to switch back to the desktop because my computer was going on overdrive because it has a shocking memory. So we're back on the desktop version. What I'm going to do here is take you through my typical weekly planning routine for the rest of, or for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So I purposely haven't time blocked out any of these times other than what was already in there as recurring tasks, because I wanted to be able to show you exactly how to go about time blocking your week. So normally I would do this on a Sunday. I'd look at the entire week ahead and go through this process for the week. For the sake of this, I'm just going to show you the next 3 days so you can see how to go about it. So the first thing that I do when I schedule my week is I time block all of my unmovable tasks. And these for me are things like work, uni classes, meetings or calls, netball games, and social events. So basically anything that I don't really have control over and I have to be at a certain time. You can already see that I have some recurring events in here. For example, my work tomorrow is in here already. And I've got the items from my work calendar in there as well, so I can see what's already scheduled for those times. I've also got my uni classes scheduled in for Friday and coaching in the afternoon on Saturday. So the other unmovable tasks that aren't in there at the moment is I have a netball game tomorrow night. So I want to put this in here now. It's at 7:15, I believe. So my night routine will be a little bit later tomorrow night, and I'm just going to drag this down. And this is going to be named netball. And in my calendar, I can change the category. So this just comes under fitness. The other thing that I want to add in as well is I have a walk with one of my friends on Saturday morning. That's from 11 to 12. So let's add that in here. And again, I'm going to change this to current self because it makes my current self fulfilled and happy. That's what this category is all about. The other major items, I know that I have to travel to work tomorrow. I'm going to be working in the office. So I'm going to add that in here. Traveling in there does take me about an hour and a half because I do choose to take public transport for purposes that we'll go through later. So I'm just going to label this as travel, and that can stay as general there. And because this isn't really an event, it's more of a slot, I'm going to change it to a slot here. And we're going to add some tasks in here a little bit later when we plan our day. The other thing that I want to add in is travel on Friday for when I go into uni. All right, so they are all my major unmovable tasks. As you can probably see, AkiFlow has a massive advantage in this area because it combines all of my calendars in one place. So I know exactly when I have all of my meetings and other obligations. Now that all of our unmovable tasks are in, the next thing that I want to do is to block off chunks for my top priorities. So these are the tasks that are directly related to my current goals, plus tasks that I know need to be done in the next week. So for me, this is typically things like big projects, writing, filming my YouTube videos, doing my workouts, and having my morning and night routines. So you'll see that I have already got some recurring tasks in here, my morning and my night routines, and my editing session tomorrow morning for work. What I am also going to add in is a workout tomorrow evening after work. We can see that I didn't add the travel in the afternoon, so I'm going to add that in as well. Perfect. The next thing I'm going to add in is my workout. So that one's in there for tomorrow evening. And I'm also going to add a workout session in on Saturday morning. So there are a couple of top priorities. If I didn't already have my newsletter as a block, then I would add that in. I like to keep my weekly planning pretty flexible. I don't like to fill up all the time just for the sake of filling up my calendar. I like to do my weekly planning so that it's a rough estimate. And then when we move into the daily planning, we can make the time blocks more specific based on our top priorities and our major goals for that day. So that's our weekly planning complete. Now let's move into a bit more of the detail, and I'm going to take you through how I would plan out my day for tomorrow. The first step in this part is each evening, I'm going to look at my calendar for the next day and I'm going to start making my time blocks more specific. And this is where Akiflow really comes in handy because there's a couple of tools that I can use. The first thing you'll see is the inbox here. This has now brought across all of my current tasks from Notion and put them in the one place here. If you have multiple different task managers, so if you use Todoist and Notion and you have emails coming through, then they will also all appear in your inbox in the one place. So what I can do now is in my travel tomorrow morning, I actually want to start editing my YouTube video, the one that I'm creating right now. So I'm going to go into my command bar and easily add a new task. Edit YouTube video. And that's going to be a new task. And you can see that it's come up here. It doesn't have the Taylor's task button because it's not to do with Notion. And I'm literally going to take this and I'm going to drop it into my travel slot because I can do this on my phone. So if I drop this into here, you can see under travel, there's a smaller task that's listed in there. So my favorite way to use this type of property is when you have a bunch of small tasks that you need to get done, I'll literally just create a block that says like small tasks and I'll batch a bunch of similar smaller tasks together and I can check off exactly which tasks I have to do here. All right, so if I wanted to add something else into travel as well, one of the things that I have on my list at the moment is to cleanse my social media just because I'm following way too many accounts I don't want to be following. So I don't know if I will have time for this, but if I have a chance tomorrow, then I can just drag this across as well. And that is now a task that's included in my travel time there. So coming down, let's focus on the evening when I get back. In this period, I'm going to have dinner. 6:30 to 7 will be fine. Personal task. Now, I do have to do some tasks tomorrow night just for an hour or so, and I want to find something that's pretty low energy. So if I come across to my tasks here, I can do this one because this is just auditing one of my clients' Notions and making a few changes. So what I can do is click this plan button here, and to make it really easy, I'm just going to say tomorrow at 7 p.m. And that's just going to create a little time slot for it in there. I have my 2 tasks in there. I think that'll be plenty. I'll probably put my shutdown routine in here so that I can make sure everything's organized for my day tomorrow because tomorrow's a pretty big day. Now, I want to show you another way that you can plan your day. And this is really good if you get a bit overwhelmed looking at all your different tasks and looking ahead to the next week. You will see that Akiflow has something called rituals. They have both shutdown and daily planning rituals. Daily shutdown is what you can do at the end of the day to kind of catch up on the tasks that you've done for the day and make sure that everything's up to date before the next day. The daily planning ritual is something that you can do either at the start of your day, or if you're like me and you like to plan your next day the night before, you can also do this in the daily planning section. I'm going to come into our daily planning. If we go into plan today, this is what you would do if you plan at the start of your day because it lets you look at all your tasks and the time for your upcoming day. But if you're like me and you like planning the night before, then you're just going to go to the next day and you can see all the events in here. Now, the last thing that I want is to go into my workday and have a complete block without any tasks in there, because for me, that is just a recipe for procrastination. You can see that I have my meetings scheduled in, but I actually want to schedule in some other times and some other things that I'm going to do during my work hours to make sure that I stay on track and focus on the tasks that I really need to get done tomorrow. I really love this view because it gives me a good glimpse at the day and the times that I do have free. So I'm going to start at 9, and I just want to do a quick admin email check in the morning. And that's until 9:30, which is when my first meeting is. I don't do things like scheduling this 15 minutes here. I don't like having that pressure. If this meeting goes over, that time slot is just taken up. So I'm going to leave that, and that's where I use my Notion master to-do list, or I could use my list on Akiflow to pick a task that just fills in that small gap there. What I can see is that from 10:30 until 1, I have a really big gap here. So this is the perfect time mid-morning to do some really good focus work. So what I'm going to do before even looking at my tasks is I'm going to block out time from 10 until 12. And this is going to be a time slot called focused work. What I'm now going to do is come across to my list, and I can see a bunch of tasks that I have to do for my work. What I want to focus on in this section is setting up my proposal software and creating my base recruitment template. They are my two biggest priorities in this section, and they are going to take up that full hour and a half. It's an ongoing project that I have. So by having that in there, I know what I'm going to spend that focused work time on, and my intention is to not get distracted and not look at small tasks during that work period. I'm going to block out lunch here, and that can just be another time slot. And my other main focus tomorrow is going to be the social plan. So that's going to be a good one to bring to the afternoon tomorrow. Have that for this time here. Now, I work in a small business at the moment, so there's a lot of things that come up throughout the day that aren't necessarily scheduled in advance. So that's where these empty gaps here are really good. Never be afraid to have spare time in your calendar. You don't have to time block every second of your day. The purpose is just to make sure that you have your most important tasks in, and to always have a list of tasks that you can pull from. So if I don't have anything that comes up throughout the day from my work or my colleagues tomorrow, then I know that I can just drag these other tasks in and have something to do during that time. I know that there's always something I can work on, and I'm going to stay on track. But if you get too caught up in scheduling all of your own tasks when your job is unpredictable, then that's where others' requests start getting a bit annoying. So as long as I have my top priorities in, I know they'll get done, then I do have time to support others in my team if they need. So looking at tomorrow, it looks pretty good. Most of the day is planned out. I'm going to be intentional. I know that I have time for my top priorities. There's a few final tips and a bit of a summary that I want to leave you with so that you can really go away and start time blocking your weeks and your days effectively. The first thing is to build in buffer times between tasks for meetings that go over, things that inevitably pop up, or just having breaks in between your tasks. As you saw when I was planning my day, I didn't fill that 15 minutes with another task because chances are there's going to be something come up or a meeting that goes over time. If you fill all of your time in, then it's going to just cause you stress and overwhelm more than it will actually make you productive. The second thing is to group similar tasks together into one task batch. This could be things like checking emails or taking calls or doing notes for a certain topic. This is how you get all of those little annoying tasks done while staying on track and avoiding continuously switching between tasks. My third tip is that when you block off time for deep work, protect this time at all costs. This is when you are going to get the most done. It's going to give you the best output if you can keep this time distraction free. So tomorrow when I'm in the office, I'm going to check with my team if there's anything urgent that they need from me before I start that work block. If there is anything they need, I'm going to ask if I can do that later in the day, and then I'm going to let them know that the next 90 minutes I'm staying focused. I'm going to put my headphones in and get through my deep work. Tip number 4 is not to be a slave to your time blocks. I had this happen this morning. I was working on a uni task from 6 to 7 this morning, and my intention was to go to the gym at 7, but I was so in flow with the task that I was working on that it just didn't make sense to break off just because my time block said that I should. So if you are doing something and you're in a flow state, you're feeling in the zone, then don't feel like you have to switch tasks just because something is planned in your calendar. Keep going, keep taking that momentum, and you'll probably get more done by just doing it in the moment. Time blocking has honestly been one of the biggest drivers of my success, and I so strongly recommend it to anyone who wants to be more productive and more intentional with their time. It seems simple in theory, but implementing it properly is what makes the biggest difference, and having apps like Notion and like Akiflow that make your life easier and make it almost fun to do this is going to make your life so much better. So start time blocking your days and your weeks. Set a time on a Sunday afternoon or a Friday afternoon if you prefer, and go through the steps that we went through in this video. Start by putting in your unmovable tasks and then put in your top priorities. Your weekly time blocking shouldn't have all the gaps filled. It should be fairly flexible so that then when you go and do your daily time blocking, either the night before or the morning of, you can fill in those gaps and make your time blocks more specific based on the tasks that you already have listed to do. If you can stick to these time blocks and use the tips that I also gave you at the end of this video, then you are going to be amazed at the amount that your output goes through the roof and just how much more intentional and productive you are with your time. A huge shout out again to Akiflow for sponsoring this video. If you want to check them out, then you can use the link in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for more productivity tips and self-development videos. I will see you in the next video.